Hey, what's up, guys? This is Trainer Kyle coming at you live from my mom's living room today. I'm back home in Griffin, Georgia, visiting, the family for the Christmas holidays and all that cool stuff, and having a good time. I hope you guys had a good time, this holiday season too. I hope you spent a lot of time with your family, ate a lot of terrible food, and I'm feeling pretty rough right now. Obviously, I'm just kicking back on the recliner here, feeling pretty terrible from all of the food. My mom's walking in, so I'm not talking to myself in here. But I'm sitting here reading a little bit, and I wanted to do a video talking about, since obviously everybody overate the last couple of days, as did myself, I'm reading a book about political issues, economic issues, and I want to talk just for a second about what the United States Surgeon General has officially labeled an epidemic in America, which is the obesity problem. So it's officially an epidemic. So I want to talk to you today about it in terms of, what's my opinion on obesity? Do I think it's a problem? What are my thoughts on government intervention surrounding obesity? What should we do about it, etc. So that's where I want to go with this. Now, first thing, just some background information. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, about 68% of America's adult population age 20 and older are considered overweight. So roughly 3/4 there, not quite. And about, I think the last time I checked, it was 35.9% of the adult population is obese or critically overweight. And so pretty staggering numbers. As far as children go, now again, those numbers were for adults age 20 and older. As far as children go, I think it was 17% of children aged 2 to 19 were considered obese or significantly overweight. And that number has actually tripled since 1980. So it's not a long-standing problem. It's only in the last couple of decades that we see this trend towards rapidly increasing numbers of overweight Americans. So is it a problem? Yes, absolutely. Do I think it's an issue? Is it an image issue for the United States on an international level? Absolutely. Is it an image issue for the individual? Absolutely. But, instead of just the superficial problem, I think if you look at it, from a more in-depth stance, it poses significant health problems as well. For someone who is considerably overweight, you are much more likely to have heart problems, respiratory problems, arthritis, diabetes, certain cancers, blood pressure, cholesterol problems, and the list goes on. So you are, and it's not that you're guaranteed to have those problems, but you are much more likely to have those problems if you are significantly overweight, as opposed to if you are of a, quote, healthy weight, which is something that's determined by doctors and people who are much smarter than you and I. So yes, it poses significant health risks. Also, if you're an economics nerd, it poses significant economic risk as well, or economic concerns. I think there was a study done that estimates that if you are overweight, you are considered, or you are likely to pay on average, I think it was $1,400 more per year in medical expenses than if you were of a normal weight. So again, economic concerns there, health concerns, image concerns, all of the above. So I guess it brings me to my next point. I guess what are my thoughts on government intervention in terms of obesity? So first question, should something be done about it? Absolutely. Do I agree with what is being done about it? Not at all. Currently, government intervention has kind of leaned towards restricting the supply of what you can and cannot eat, or restricting the quantity of what you eat. Some examples of this are certain laws that have been passed that limit the size of soft drinks you can purchase or sell, I guess. I think that was in New York. Some states have put in place excise taxes on candy. Some places are proposing that we ban salt or certain quantities of salt in, I guess, restaurants. Some places are proposing a ban on trans fats. So all these things, though, are attempts at restricting the supply. But if you know anything about basic economics, anytime you restrict the supply of anything, demand for that product is going to go way up. So it's not going to do anything. But if you look at also at history, anytime supply has been restricted for any product, it has never fixed the problem. If you look at the age of prohibition of alcohol, alcohol was readily available for anyone who wanted it. If you look at the current prohibition of drugs, in particular marijuana, it's readily available for anyone who wants it. If you look at gun control regulations, regardless of how strict gun control gets, firearms will be readily available on the black market for any criminal or anyone who wants to get their hand on it. So to think that legislation passed concerning food would be any different is just, it ignores logic, and it ignores common sense, in my opinion. So restricting supply never solves the problem. And for that matter, I think that any government intervention, any attempt by the government to, quote, solve a problem, it does two things. This is something I argue to my students all the time. It does two things. The first is that it doesn't fix the problem, or in most cases I would argue it makes the problem worse. And the second thing it does is that it takes away your freedom to live your life as you see fit, as opposed to how elites in Washington think you should live it. So, and from a political standpoint, I'm a nerd all about freedom to choose to do whatever you want to do. So do I think that it's bad that people drink gallons of soft drink per day and eat boxes of Twinkies? Of course I think it's bad. Of course you shouldn't do it. But is it the role of the government to step in and legislate you doing that? Absolutely not. I don't think that was what was intended by our founding fathers. And I think the government is on a path towards that direction, trying to legislate what you can and can't do. So I don't agree with current government policy. But, I guess, could I offer a solution? I guess what would my opinion be? What would my advice be? Again, I'm not a politician, so I don't claim to have the solution. But I think a better approach would be to just simply create awareness. I think the problem, the root of the problem, is that people do not understand the relationship between how much they eat and their body weight. I think if we could somehow create awareness through maybe teaching it in schools, because health and PE classes are obviously not doing a tremendously effective job at educating our youth. Maybe we could do it through the media. I don't know, if we saw more commercials about your food intake in relationship to your body weight as opposed to McDonald's and playgrounds, I think that people would be able to make better decisions there. Again, I don't know how we could do it, but it has to be, we have to, if you look at it from an economic standpoint, you can't fix a demand issue with a supply problem. Again, the issue is that the demand for food and overeating is high. People want to eat bad. And you can't fix that demand by limiting the supply. So if you want to fix a demand problem, you have to change the demand for that product. So you have to get people to not want to eat those foods, as opposed to telling them they can't eat those foods in whatever quantity they want. But apparently that makes too much sense for a lot of people in Washington. And it doesn't look good politically, I guess. I think politicians want to step in and tell you that they have the answer to your problems. If I could just pass this law to protect you, then I'll get reelected next term. So I don't know. There's my opinion. Let me know what you think. Please leave comments below. Ask me on Twitter, I guess. If you like to pick my brain about it. Like the video if you like what I had to say. Subscribe to me. Please follow me on Twitter. It's @TrainerKyle. Love to hear from you guys. Yeah, I think that's it. So until next time, I will see you later.